To Hong Kong. After months of anti-government protests, President Trump has urged China's leader to solve the political crisis. Mr. Trump tweeted that he had zero doubt that Xi Jinping could humanely solve the problem in the territory. His comments came after intense pro-democracy protests sparked by an extradition bill. The latest rallies held in Hong Kong airport to attract global attention as well. But let's bring you up to date and take you to our Southeast Asia correspondent, Jonathan Head, who joins us now from Hong Kong. It's always difficult, isn't it, Jonathan, when you get these tweets from President Trump to know what we should read into it. But what do you think his motivation was with this tweet?
Well, I suppose Hong Kong's been much more in the news in the last few days simply because of a spike in the confrontations with the authorities. An airport occupation has brought a great deal more international attention back into Hong Kong, and one can only assume it's sort of wafted its way across President Trump's radar screen. In the past, most of his comments on Hong Kong have been very non-committal and haven't showed any particular interest in what's going on here. Suddenly he pipes up saying it should be solved humanely. We don't know what he means by that. He's mentioned a personal meeting. It's not even clear who he thinks should be meeting whom, although we assume he's offering some kind of meeting with Xi Jinping, which I don't think the Chinese would particularly want the Americans involved in this. And sort of vaguely, he's also vaguely linked getting an agreement on trade with China, saying that should happen after Hong Kong's resolved. But at the same time, his Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, has been quoted as saying that what's going on in Hong Kong is an entirely internal matter for China, and there's really nothing the US can do about it. So frankly, the messaging is very mixed.
And in terms of the protesters, Jonathan, they've been shut down at the airport. But is there still a sense of momentum? Are they promising more protests this weekend? What's their plan?
Well, they're certainly planning a number of rallies over the weekend. They've already had permission denied for one on Saturday. They're hoping for an even bigger one on Sunday. They're hoping to get huge numbers of people out, as they did early on when these protests first began. I think there's an understanding among the various protest groups, and they are very fragmented, remember, that the scenes at the airport on Tuesday, where we actually saw people being mobbed and attacked who they thought were infiltrators, with flights cancelled for a second day, that perhaps has backfired on them in terms of publicity. There was some sympathy among travellers, but for we met people whose flights had been delayed for a second day, who were getting a bit frustrated, and then they saw some of this violence, and we've actually seen the protesters apologising for that, saying that they're going to try and learn from that, with the authorities also making it much harder for them to get into the airport terminal. So there's no real protest going on. There are a few protesters there at the airport, but no real protest, and I'm not sure if and when they will revisit the airport strategy, but they're very determined. A lot of these young protesters feel, after the failure of the umbrella movement 5 years ago, this is possibly their last chance to make their anxiety about what's happening in Hong Kong felt, and their anxiety about their lack of a clear future, and that if they give up now, they will never have another opportunity. So, this is not over. There is still a real determination to find ways to keep this protest movement going.
Jonathan, good to see you. Thanks for joining us from Hong Kong.